Now, the university will be screening two films from the Paradise Discovered series, which are The Unbreakable Virgin Islands. And these films chronicles the resilience of the residents of the U.S. Virgin Islands following Hurricanes Irma and Maria back in 2017. There will also be an interactive seminar with the filmmaker Peter Bailey. Peter joins us this morning alongside anthropologist, historian, and senior lecturer at the Department of Literary, Cultural, and Communication Studies at the UWI, Dr. Keith McNeil. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Happy to have you guys in my presence this morning.
Likewise, likewise.
Peter, I'm going to come to you first. I saw the trailer for the film. I haven't seen the film as yet, but I've just seen the devastation that happened to, of course, the residents back in 2017. An interesting name among the devastation, Paradise Discovered. And I was wondering, how did you get that name for such a series?
First off, Kimberly, I'm happy to be on the best show in the Caribbean. Best morning show in the
Yes,
Caribbean.
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so when the storms hit, some colleagues of mine wrote a headline of me in the States, and it said Paradise Lost. And the vision was, I don't think the larger world knows who we are as people.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, especially in the region of the U.S. Virgin Islands, it's a tourism-focused place. So I think when people think of us as a postcard, they think we're not real people, it's a caricature. So Paradise Discovered is a play on words, because these films are about getting to know who we are, the soul, the strength of who we are.
Yeah.
So these films are really a celebration about resilience beyond just the vacation, basically.
Yeah. Now, in addition to that celebration, because there was the first one and then there was a 2.0.
Yes.
So what are the plans for the first film, and did that change when you redid the second or the sequel?
Great question. The first film was really in distress because that film was produced when, I lost a house in that storm. So the first storm, it was resilience. And then after that, in the news, they kept talking about Caribbean, we're so resilient. But I'm like, where do we go from here? Because resilience means we're just going to keep getting whips. So 2.0 talks about we're in this very interesting intergenerational shift in the Caribbean, where do we modernize, do we innovate, or do we stay true to our culture? So 2.0 really addresses, it's a question. A lot of my work asks a question. I don't have the answer. So the question is, as Caribbean people, how do we move forward to create a sustainable community, but still remain true to our culture?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the film is dealing with that question and the challenges of that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Dr. McNeil, I'm coming to you because I think it's interesting that you invited Peter for people to see these films. And I'm wondering, what was your thought process going into the partnership with Peter, and what does UWI intend to get out of this partnership?
Well, it's interesting. I was living in Houston. I was teaching at the University of Houston in 2017 when Hurricane Harvey, which was part of the trio of storms, Maria, Irma, and Harvey, we got pummeled in Houston while, Irma and Maria were devastating the Caribbean. And so I read his op-ed in the New York Times about has America forgotten the U.S. Virgin Islands? And so that's how we connected. And I was going to bring him to Houston, but then COVID hit. Then I came to UWI, and so we're here now. But the Department of Literary, Cultural, and Communication Studies is partnering with the film program to bring him and to really, think about filmmaking, but also telling the stories and asking the questions. What does it mean to be small, vulnerable island states with climate change and global warming?
So you definitely see some similarities between the U.S. Virgin Islands and us and TNT?
Everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everywhere is dealing with it, but especially small island states are especially vulnerable.
Yeah. I know that a lot of talk has been happening about climate change. I mean, is that something that you want your students to take away from this as well?
Definitely. It's interesting because if you look at climate change, the people causing it, it's not in the Caribbean, but it's going to affect the Caribbean most.
Yeah.
So Irma Maria, I like to say that the Virgin Islands, the region that got hit with those storms, we're kind of like, we were the preview to what's coming for the rest of the world. So I think these are issues. I think right now in society, you have issues of race, you have issues of the economy, but if we don't have a planet to live on, there's nothing to fight about.
Yeah.
So climate change to me right now, it should be a focus on all our minds, especially in this region of the world.
Yeah, and as we look towards, so we're talking about climate change on one end, but of course what we have in TNT is a very big fossil fuel economy, but we have also discussed diversification of the economy. And so do you think this can also be a catalyst for how we can look at diversification and sort of move away from that fossil fuel sometime in the future?
Kimberly, it has to. After the storms, we are just a tourism based, right? So you take away the vacation, and the world's looking at us in the Virgin Islands like, well, you're not useful anymore. So when you look at film, film can create a whole industry. And not only create a whole industry, when you have a young community of kids, when I go speak to the kids today, owning their story, understanding their narrative, it instills a sense of pride and identity. And I think that type of fervor can really uplift who we are as a people. And I think when you say Trinidad, the USVI, I just see one Caribbean.
Yes.
I don't see the difference. I just see one Caribbean, different flavors, different vibes. Basically.
Yeah. So then are we experiencing, Dr. McNeely, you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to big up Film TT, who's also partnering with us at UE, the film program, and my department, to bringing in secondary school students from 3 schools.
Yeah.
Today we're doing a half-day workshop on careers in filmmaking and journalism, raising the issues, but also really putting it out there, thinking about creative careers outside of, the usual kind of conventional script.
Well, tell us about these sessions, because I know it begins this morning with the interactive session before we move on to the screening, yes? So tell us about it.
Yeah, this morning a half-day workshop at the UE Film Program, working with students, thinking about careers in filmmaking and journalism. And then this evening we have a screening of the first Virgin Islanders film, The Unbreakable Virgin Islanders, 6 p.m., film building on Carmody Street in St. Augustine. We have the filmmaker to have a Q&A. So we'll see the first one this evening, and then tomorrow at 5 p.m. we're going to see the recent one, which is like 5 months old maybe now.
Yeah, it's
like
brand new.
Yeah.
And Kimberly, I'm really looking forward to the kids, because I think, man, they're the future here. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with them, because I've been told that Trinidad is innovating in the film industry. You guys are kind of pushing that wave, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, nice. Now, I know that you say you're excited to, have that conversation with the kids and that and sort of thing, but going back to something you said in terms of that tourist destination, do you think we can be more than that then?
We have to. We're not going to survive if we don't.
But how can we make that step towards transitioning?
Think about it. When you think of tourism, right, our people are usually the service industry. We're usually the waiters. We're usually the bus boys. We need to be the owners. We need to basically be the executives at the hotels. So in the Virgin Islands, we've been having a lot of discussions with different developers and our leaders in, okay, how do we create a program where our students have an apprenticeship program to learn how to be on the executive level in the hospitality industry. So we own a piece of it. We're not just spectators in this, right? Because I think that in the Caribbean, we enable everyone's pleasure. So it's time that we kind of own a piece of that paradise. So that's where that vision is.
And then how can we get the young people to also buy into that product? Because if we look at it now, it's the older generation who's in charge of the hotels, they're the one doing the operations, all that sort of thing. And so how do we get young people to get that interest and then eventually take over someday?
By appreciating their story. I'm a storyteller. It's nothing like when people see themselves on the big screen. It's magical. And it's like, wow, that's me. So it says I'm more than just giving you a drink on a beach.
Yeah. And in terms of the curriculum, what is UE doing to develop the film program and even, get more people interested in film and, as Peter is saying, tell our stories?
Yeah, well, there's a lot happening at UE. There's a new entire building for the film program. They're moving mountains. We're also developing, I'm developing a course on culture and climate change for the cultural studies program, but that's also connected to an entire UE system-wide new initiative, a master's in science, an MSc in climate studies, and it's a system-wide effort, interdisciplinary, natural sciences, social sciences, engineering. And it's a really exciting moment. It's just recently been approved, so now it's being operationalized, and it's, I think, going to start within the next year or so.
Nice.
So actually, post-grad training in climate studies, interdisciplinary, to help people, develop climate literacy, disaster literacy, and then tell stories, utilize creative industries to help ask the questions and think. I mean, we need everyone thinking together and innovating together, and no one person's going to have the solution,
Kimberly, LA was a desert. Hollywood was a desert.
So was Las Vegas.
Look at
yeah?
it now. Film industry. So
Yeah. Interesting. Now I'm coming back to you, and I want to get personal a little bit, Peter.
Please
Allow me.
do.
So
I'm on the best morning show in the Caribbean. Come on now.
your mom is Anguillan.
Yes.
Dad was born in Chaguanas, Trinidad.
Chaguanas, yes.
You were born in USVI.
Yes.
You now live in Miami, which we
Yes,
joked
ma'am.
is also a little Caribbean of its
Yes,
own.
yes.
So you were like a Caribbean man.
A potpourri of the Caribbean, a whole mixture, right? Yeah.
I'm wondering, how did that influence your filmmaking and the way how you tell stories?
That's a quick question. So after, I've been a journalist in America, writing for Time Magazine, New York Times, Newsweek, producing for NBC. So I'm telling stories for years. So these storms hit, and no one told our story. And then I'll be honest with you, I told a buddy, it's like I had a reincarnation of, I'm Caribbean. Because, when you come from the U.S. Virgin Islands, we're a hybrid. You travel, my Caribbean cousin, like, you're not really Caribbean. Then I'm in America, you're not really American. So we're in this weird space, but I think the USVI narrative is very important because we're attached to, we're America in the Caribbean. So all of that has created this, I see the world in these different lenses. I have these different experiences. But I arguably say, I think that's the future of the world. I think with the internet and social media, we become a global society. So I don't think we live in fragmented spaces anymore. So I think that just being, I remember growing up and my father used to tell my mother, you from Anguilla, I'm from Trinidad. And now I understand because I'm in this country, I'm in this impressive country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to be like a kaleidoscope of all islands, basically.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you, of course, Dr. McNeil, of course, Mr. Bailey, thank you so much for coming in. Just remind us again, Dr. McNeil, tonight, tomorrow, what time for the screenings?
This evening at 6 p.m., tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. Both events are being held at the UE Film Program Building on Carmody Street in St. Augustine.
Nice. And we have the opportunity to have a Q&A with Mr. Bailey himself.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you so much
Thanks
for coming
for having
in.
us.
Congratulations on all the work that you're doing with the films. I look forward to seeing what's next in store because I know you have some stuff in the pipeline.
Always.
And Dr. McNeil, thank you so much for what you've been doing for the film program and the curriculum at UE. Thank you guys so much.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
And of course, that was Mr. Peter Bailey, the filmmaker, of course, for the Unbreakable Virgin Islanders, those two series. And we have Dr. McNeil, who is a senior lecturer at the UE, talking about a very, very interesting series that's taking place tonight and, of course, tomorrow at the UE. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. But stay with us because up next, we take your phone calls.
I say that